Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter, with a video that many of you have been waiting anxiously for. It is a review of the Brutfuner 50 Macaron colored oily colored pencils. Now, whenever you see oily colored pencils on a listing for a budget or a Chinese made pencil, that doesn't necessarily mean they're oil based. What that means, I believe, is that they're distinguishing these from, say, a watercolor pencil, a water-soluble pencil. So think about that when you're ordering pencils. It doesn't mean they're going to be like a polychromos dupe. It just means that they're not water-soluble, or they're not watercolor pencils. They're not designed to be used as watercolor pencils. And I've heard that, as well as having a hunch that that is what it is, because there's been many pencils have been called oily colors that definitely feel more wax-based than oil-based. Pencils have a combination of waxes and oils and pigments and binders to make them, well, the wax and the oil would be the binder, but to give them the characteristics that the pencil maker wants. So I wish they would just kind of get rid of that whole distinction, because it really doesn't help the user or the person considering buying the pencils. But hopefully my review videos do help you, so you can get the type of pencil you want and not waste your money on ones that aren't going to do the trick or just aren't going to be your preference. So I like to disclose things at the beginning of my review videos. One, my favorite colored pencils that I use all the time are Prismacolor Premier soft core colored pencils. So I prefer a softer pencil. I like Derwent Color Soft and Derwent ChromaFlow and Derwent Lightfast. Those are all softer, more opaque pencils, and that's my personal preference. I try not to let my personal preference get into my reviews, but you know, it's just, sometimes you can't help it, and if I do that, I want to make you aware. Also, I want to let you know the company Andstal stationery shop on AliExpress sent these to me to review for free. So I did not buy these, and I'm also not compensated for doing the review. And if you purchase these through the links, it's not an affiliate link. I don't earn any money on that link. I just want to get that all out there in case you think I have some ulterior motive for recommending a product or not recommending a product. I don't. I'm as honest as I can be, but I think it's helpful to know any sort of unintentional biases that could be there. So this is what the box looks like. It's it kind of reminds me of like stuff from the 80s. It reminds me of the stuff that came out when I was like a kid. I think it's kind of nostalgic and fun. I'm sure they're going for that nostalgia of people my age that would probably be interested in these pencils. And the box is really nothing fancy. It's just cardboard. It's not really something that you would necessarily keep. The thing I'll say though, and I'll say this about most of the Brutfuner products, is that the products are very well protected in shipping. I didn't have any issues sharpening any of these. They, like the 520 set, these are held into the packaging so they don't follow. I don't tend to press them back in very firmly after I use them because I want them easier to retrieve, but I can turn that upside down and they're not falling out. They also came very well packed with in a box with packaging, with wrap, so they didn't jostle around. This is the other set, and there are 50 colors, and they're all pastel and muted tones. So first I want to show you the swatch that I did of these colors on black and white paper. So on the white paper, you're going to see the color as they come right off the pencil. On the black, you're going to see how opaque and how much the pigment stands up against the black. Generally, working on black paper is most difficult, so I like to swatch on the black just so you can see like what colors actually will show their color when you get on black. A lot of times you'll get into colors that almost look just white or beige on black. Now these are the neutral tones that are like that. They correspond. This row here is this row here. So you can see they're not quite as bright on the black as they are on the white, but that's pretty typical. Even with a wax-based pencil that tends to be a little bit more opaque. So I'll just leave this here. If you want to freeze frame it, you can. I'll try to remember to take a still shot of this and post it on my blog. So if you want to have a little more time to look at a still photo, you can. But I found them to be very smooth, very opaque, and work pretty well. I'm going to show you some artwork I did with these, and then I'm going to show you a comparison between the Holbein, which is what these pencils are really trying to copy, and also a bunch of the other pencils I found them the most similar to, so you can decide whether you have some of those other pencils I'm going to compare it to. You might say, well, I already have Prismacolor Settle 150, I guess I don't need these. Or you might say, I have the Arteza pencils and there's no pastels in there, so I really would benefit from having these. So you can kind of, I've kind of compared them with the closest things that I have. I have a pretty robust collection of pencils. So hopefully if you have other pencils, I will have compared them to ones that are similar that may add on to your collection or may just be duplicating. So I want you to have that information because nobody wants to buy supplies that they don't need. And we all want to buy things that make the rest of our supplies be a little bit more useful. So the first thing I'm going to say about this set of pencils is that they are not going to be a one and done set of pencils. These are going to augment other pencils you already have. You're really not going to be doing a full illustration with those pencils. Maybe if you were working in a coloring book or doing a stamped image, you could get by with just the pastel pencils because you would have strong like line artwork to go on, but I still think you're going to struggle getting the depth of shading that you would want with that. But as far as like blending colors out and highlighting, those are just fantastic, fantastic tool to have. So I want to show you first, my first experiment with these, we're using them on toned tan mixed media paper, and I thought, oh, this is going to be great because they're nice and opaque. This was after I swatched them. They'll be great on the toned tan, except what didn't occur to me when I chose this paper is that toned tan is kind of a pastel color. It's kind of like a light to mid value paper, and these are all light to mid value colors. So my macarons, I want to say my macarons macaront. That doesn't make sense. My macarons didn't macaron. They didn't show up on this. So I did have to go in with some darker colors to get them to be to show up a little bit more. And I was doing this upstairs. In my bedroom, I have a set of Prismacolors up there, so I just grabbed some Prismacolors to augment them, and they work so well with the Prismacolors that I found myself putting the Brutfuners in the baskets with my Prismacolors, thinking I was putting away a Prismacolor pencil. Oftentimes, there's absolutely no confusing any other pencil with a Prismacolor because I know Prismacolors. I've been using Prismacolor Premier since I was 5 years old. So those are like, I know them like the back of my hand, and these felt so much like the Prismacolors that for me, that's a huge plus. It might not be for you though. So yes, you definitely will need other colors, but they did work very well with my Prismacolors. So if you have Prismacolors, these are going to work very well with them. So then I took just a piece of white, this is a heavyweight bead drawing paper. This is a wonderful paper, and I kind of wish I grabbed another pad of it when I found these. I found this at Rennie's. It was 40 sheets for $4.99, and this is so thick and just a beautiful surface, a tiny bit of tooth to it. If you see this, if you have a salvage store somewhere and you happen to spot this paper, snag it because it's well worth it. I think it might even be cotton. But I don't know if the B Paper Company is still, it's made in the USA even. I'm not sure if they're still in business. It's acid free. I guess it's not cotton, but man, it's a lovely paper, professional series. For that price too, I thought it was great. Anyway, I did this macaron with the pastels, and then I did go in with some Prismacolors to give my darker tones because you definitely are going to need more colors in this. But I loved the look that I got here. I loved how they performed so much like my Prismacolors. And the benefit for these, for me, I don't have a full set of Prismacolors upstairs. In my bedroom I have a, it's kind of what's left over from probably the second set that I bought back in the late 90s. And then I bought some open stock. It's just kind of a mishmash. It's not the full, I have a full set down here that I bought a few years ago when it went super cheap on Amazon. So what I used from the Brutfuner pastel set were these colors here. And so like 3 shades of pink, a gray, and a very, very pale beigey green. And then what I used from Prismacolor was like a deep wine, a deeper pink, white, and like a dark cold gray. This set does not have white in it, just so you know. Honestly, I usually don't recommend getting like the white pencils that come in a lot of the budget pencil sets because they tend to be translucent and weak. What I do is I actually buy my white Prismacolor Premier color pencils, buy a box of 12, and then I always have them on hand. That's my favorite white pencil. The Derwent Drawing Chinese White is nice. It's a little bit firmer, I find, than the Prismacolor. I know people will say that they find that like Holbeins are softer than Prismacolor. I find this Prismacolor to be the softest, so I kind of question myself whether I am just confusing the familiarity with Prismacolors and giving them a little bit more clout than I should. So that's another reason I just want to put that out there, that you tend to like what you're familiar with, and so I might like these a little bit more because I'm so familiar with Prismacolors, and these are so much like Prismacolors. So I was really happy with the way that came out. I felt that I could layer really well with them, blend really well with them. These are not really a layering pencil though. These are going to be If you're more like to like put down a lot of color and mash it together type of pencil, which is kind of what I do a lot, they're great. If you like to do mixed media and you want something for highlighting over your watercolors or your alcohol markers, these are going to be great for that. If you're someone who likes to do a lot of translucent layers, I don't think these are going to be the pencils for you. But if you like to work on toned surfaces, I think you're really going to enjoy these. So then, after doing the macarons, I decided to do some jellyfish because I'm like, that'll be fun because I want to work on a dark background. I just recently got some new pastel paper from my friend Rosie. She made this sketchbook for me. Actually, she made a few, and I thought this will be fun. I will try these on some of this. This is handmade paper from India. It's a Shizan cotton. It's like recycled from clothing, so it's kind of a soft feeling paper. It doesn't have a lot of bite to it, which is okay for pastels. It's sometimes not the best for colored pencils, but I just really wanted to try it out. And since these pencils are nice and soft, they release their pigment easily and they worked really well. And I use these with my Brutfuner square pencils because I figured let's do Brutfuner with Brutfuner and see how they work together. And they worked beautifully together. And I didn't find a lot of doubles between the square set of 120 and the pastel set of 50, the Macaron set of 50. So if you had the Brutfuner squares and you just wished you had more pastels, this would be a nice add-on set as well. And I'll show you the comparison between those two sets in a minute, but I do find that these round pastel pencils are a higher quality than the squares, which was a pleasant surprise because I love those square pencils, and when I got the 520 set of rounds, I was really hoping that the leads in those pencils were the same as the squares. They're not bad, but they're not the same. They're not quite as good. And I found that these pastels to be even a little bit more softer, more pigmented, and better quality than the squares. So maybe they'll come out with like a, oh my gosh, they come out with that quality in like around, like in a full range, I will be the first in line because those were wonderful. So I really like the way they showed up on this toned paper. They worked really well with my other Brutfuner squares, which are a very affordable set of pencils. I think they run regular price around $30 for 120. Those can be purchased on Amazon, or you can also get those on AliExpress, depending on where you prefer to shop, where you live in the world. A lot of times things on AliExpress have free shipping and are cheaper. So it's just something to, you know, consider. I haven't personally, another disclosure, I haven't personally shopped on AliExpress before. I'm pretty conservative with where I shop. I usually shop at the kind of, if I'm going to order online, there's a few American art suppliers I order from. Blick, Jerry's Outerama, Mary Artist, occasionally Cheap Joe's, and then Amazon. Obviously, everyone gets some stuff from Amazon from time to time. So that's pretty much where I do all my ordering. You know, just my comfort level. I'm kind of a, you know, a fuddy-duddy, I guess. But I haven't had any issues with things arriving damaged that came from Andstal stationery, so I can recommend them anyway. And then I decided to try on black, and I did struggle a little bit with this neon jellyfish. I started off with the pastels. I did have to go into the more neon colors from Brutfuner and a couple of my neons from Prismacolor because the Brutfuner set really didn't have, the 120 square set I'm talking about, didn't have many real neon colors, but the Prismacolors do have some good neons, so I grabbed from there. And then kind of like blended out with the pastel. I used white to actually block in some area, which is a good tip. If you don't have pastel tones or your pastel tones are not showing up on black paper, draw it in with a white Prismacolor, and then you can layer over with your more robust colors and end up with a neon or a pastel or something that's a little bit more what you're going for. And this jellyfish here, I absolutely love how it turned out. I actually went in with a Holbein black to carve some detail back in when I was done, but it worked really well. And I will have time lapses of the jellyfish up on my YouTube channel and a real-time tutorial of the jellyfish in Critique Club in the membership group if anybody is looking for those. But I was very pleased with how it came out. I really enjoyed the process of using them, and it was really a lot of fun. So I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 artworks with these pastel pencils, mixing them with other things because they're really not, I don't think they're really suitable for doing standalone artwork, and I'm absolutely thrilled, and I can recommend them without hesitation. So now, recommend them without hesitation doesn't mean go run out and buy them if you already have pencils that will do the same thing. Okay, so there's a difference there. I'm going to see if I can zoom in a little bit more here and we can look at some of these side by side. So the first thing I want to mention is that these are a blatant copy of Holbein pencils. So if you're aware of Holbein pencils, they well, let me just zoom out. Actually, I'm going to zoom back out just a smidge. So if you've been in the color and pencil world, you may have heard of Holbein. Holbein is a Japanese pencil that until recently you couldn't purchase in America. There are certain, from what I understand, there's a certain chemical, or there was something in the Japanese Holbein pencils that made them not able to be sold in America. I don't know if that's true or not. That's what I've been told. That's what the people at Holbein say. And some artists will say, no, they're exactly the same. The American version is the same as the Japanese version. There are other artists that will swear right up and down that the Japanese version is different than the American version. I cannot say for sure because the only Holbein pencils I have were given to me by my friend Jane. She had a spare set of 36 and she really wanted me to try them out. I like them. I think they were the Japanese version, but I can't say 100%. She'd had them for quite a while and then she got a full set. So she passed along her smaller set to me. So I think that they are most likely the Japanese one because Blick had just recently come out with the pencils when she upgraded to her full set. So I really am not that versed on those pencils. I have the set that I have. I like them all right. They're not as soft as Prismacolors. So, you know, being used to Prismacolors, I like the artwork that I did with them, but they weren't my favorite. But I liked them. I could see they were a quality pencil. And I went and compared them side by side with the 5 colors that I had from Holbein that matched the colors in these sets. Now, the numbers and the names match between Holbein and these pencils. So I took the 5 that I had that matched and I put a little rubber band around them. Oh, here they are, right here. So let's compare apples to apples here. So these are the 4 Holbein pencils that I have that match colors that I have here. So we're gonna pull those out together and we're gonna compare them. So let's see, we've got this one. This is called Ice Green OP228. And I'm not sure what the OP is standing for. Probably something pastel. But I think this is the Brutfuner Ice Green, and it's also called, I don't know if you'll be able to read that with the gold. The gold is so difficult to read. But trust me, it says Ice Green. And Holbein gives that a light fastness rating of 2 stars. And so the Brutfuner has these 2 asterisks on each side of the word Ice Green. Holbein says OP228 and Brutfuner actually says B1228. So the Holbein will say OP. That must be for must mean pastel, something pastel. I don't know what their code means, but the number 228 on all the Brutfuner ones will have the same number, but it will be 1 and then the number 228 in this case. So this is apples to apples. You can see how they both have a gold band and the number at the end. They have, this one has a little Holbein logo and Holbein Works Limited, and then the light fastness rating, and then the color, and then this is like the stars and then the color. And then if you turn it over, it says Holbein Artists Colored Pencil, and here it says Brutfuner Colored Pencil in a similar sized font. Not the same font, but it's definitely meant to look like a Holbein pencil. I wouldn't say it's meant to confuse people because, I mean, the set of 50 Holbein pastel pencils is $157. The set of Brutfuner 50 pastel colored pencils is like under $18. So, you know, I don't think you're going to be confused, but they definitely look pretty much identical, and I'd have to be careful not to put the wrong one away. The lead is slightly thicker in the Holbein, and as far as swatching them out, they swatch out very similarly. So let's just match up our color friends here. This one is Aqua, number 323. Looks kind of like this one it. And this one is Aqua, 1323. This one is, it's very hard to read these, Cosmos 437. So if you're used to the Brutfuners, this would be very easy to compare. And also, I guess if you ran out of one of these colors, well, buy the Holbein. You know, you'll get a better pencil, and you don't have to rebuy a set, which is nice. So as kind of sketchy as it looks that they're copying these pencils, if you use one up, you could spend $4 and buy one, you know, Holbein rather than spending 18 and rebuying the set, if that was more your prerogative. 022. So this, these are both called pink. But the color on the barrels vary a little bit. The color in the lead, though, once you swatch them, they're pretty similar. And then this last one, which is 122, Jaune Brilliant. Get this one here. Yep. I mean, come on, guys. Do they look the same or what? They look pretty dang close to me. I'm just going to move this back. They look so similar. Now, I don't have any of the other pastel sets because I just figured, well, there's so many cons on a lot of those sets that that for me, watching other people's reviews has kept me from buying any of the other pastel sets out there. And I figure, well, I've got, between the Prismacolors I have, between the Brutfuner 520s, I've got plenty that I can pull together a pastel set from. But this is a set that I actually would recommend, and I probably would buy myself, to have an extra set, or once I use these up, or if I find that I'm using just a certain amount of colors up, I would just get the Holbeins in those colors personally. But it's definitely a fantastic set. I can take a piece of paper here and swatch them out. Well, I actually have them swatched out here. So here would be pink, the Holbein, and that's the Brutfuner. So you can see that on the Holbein it is more pigmented on black. That is the Cosmos, Holbein, and Brutfuner. The Holbein, actually they're pretty similar on black. The Jaune Brilliant, the Holbein is more pigmented on black, but on white they're very similar. This one right here, is that one aqua or no, ice blue? The Holbein and Brutfuner look the same on white, much more pigmented on black, the Holbeins are. And this one here, I think they actually call, is that one called aqua or is that one called, yeah, that one's called aqua, which doesn't look like aqua to me. But anyway, the Holbein is definitely way more pigmented on the black than the Brutfuner. But is that enough difference to spend 9 times the price to get the Holbein? Well, that's completely up to you. So let's look at some of the other comparisons, because I think those swatches show up pretty well. Comparing the Brutfuner squares to the Brutfuner rounds, I didn't find many that were exact matches. That one's pretty close. I found the color laydown on the round pencils, the pastels, to be a little bit more opaque, a little bit more consistent, and to show up on the black a little bit better. I only found a couple that were almost identical matches. That one out of the 120, that one's pretty close. That one's pretty close. In each event, I found the pastel color to be a little bit more consistent. They like to lay down a more opaque color quickly. But you know, if you have the squares, you're only gonna have about maybe 6 colors that are direct matches, which isn't too bad. I think it's worth adding the set, but you know, that's only if you want to blend out to a really light color and that's useful to you. So, but quality-wise, they were pretty similar. I found the new pastel ones seemed a little bit higher quality. Then compared to the Brutfuner 520, I did find the new pastel ones to be a higher quality. They've got a capped end, and they're a little bit more opaque on the black. But if you have the 520 set, I don't know if I'd say go buy the pastels, because you have so many colors in that set that even though they're not all going to be direct matches, I think you probably have enough pastel colors in that set. But that's, you know, up to you. The quality is quite similar, but I do find that the pastel set is a little bit softer, a little bit more pigmented on black as well. So, which would make sense because I found the squares to be a little bit more pigmented and softer than the 520. Then the Prismacolors were identical in feel and laydown and pigmentation on black. So if you are a Prismacolor pencil lover, maybe you have a smaller set of Prismacolors without a lot of pastels, go for these, add them to your Prismacolors. You will be so happy you did. They are very similar to Prismacolors in feel. They look like Holbeins, but they feel like Prismacolors, but I didn't have a single bit of breakage, and I sharpened all of these, and they all sharpened beautifully. So that's even a plus over Prismacolor, and they also have finished ends. So if I grab a Prismacolors do not have finished ends. They have, I can compare that to one that looks pretty close here actually. Prismacolors don't have capped ends. I would say the thickness of the lead is the same, darn near close. Maybe Prismacolors are a touch bigger, but quality-wise, I would say build quality is a little bit better on the Brutfuner pastels, but the pigmentation, the feel of the pigment of the cores, identical. Man, if you love Prismacolors, grab you a set of these because you're going to really like them. And I didn't find a ton of direct matches. I mean, I found some that, I mean, they're pretty close. Quite a few colors were pretty close from the 150 set. Not exactly. They're all a little bit off. I think they're a great addition to the Prismacolor 150s. Do you need them? No, you don't need them. But if you get a smaller set of Prismacolors, I would seriously consider spending 18 bucks and getting this set to add to them. Then I went ahead and I compared them to the Color Softs down here. I didn't find a lot of similar colors in the Color Softs. Even the ones that were similar were off by a shade. And some of the Color Softs were more pigmented on black and some of the Brutfuners were more pigmented on black. It's because they're different colors, really. Very similar in feel, though. So if you have the Color Soft and you want to expand the range with more pastels, I would definitely recommend them to go on with the Color Softs. Or the Chroma Flows, because the Chroma Flows don't really have a... they have a couple, maybe 2 pastel shades. One of them is right there. I would say, yeah, they would be a good addition to those Chroma Flows. And then I tried the, no, this is a pastel Brutfuner. I tried the Marco Tribute because I just got those. Less pigmented on black, but fairly similar. Mark Art, same thing. They feel like those pencils that feel kind of like Holbeins to me. The Artisa, the Mark Art, the Tributes, the, well, like the Phoenix color even. Very similar in feel. I did find that the Brutfuner pastels have a little bit more color payout on the black, which was nice. They're just very similar to Prismacolor in feel. They look like a Holbein, color match the Holbein pastels, way cheaper, but in feel and laydown, they're like a Prismacolor in my opinion. So I'm going to recommend another video for you if you want to find out more about these before buying them. The Coloring Diva has put out a couple videos on these, and she's a big Holbein fan, so if you are interested in how they compare to Holbein, if you're interested in how they compare to other pastel sets on the market. She also compares those. I don't have any of those other sets, so I will link a couple of her videos in the video description so you can check her out. She seems to be very honest. She's a coloring book enthusiast, so she's going to be looking at them with a different perspective than I have, and I would give her videos a look too, especially since she's much more knowledgeable on the other pastel sets and on Holbein pencils than I am. If that's really your concern, how do they compare to the Holbein? I really can't say other than the 5 colors I have here. I think my course of action would be, these are so much cheaper than Holbeins. I would definitely recommend trying these if you want to expand the pastel section. But I think if I used one up, I wouldn't hesitate to buy that color open stock in a Holbein, because I would know that it's a color I use a lot and it would be worth spending $4 on versus just buying another $18 set. But to start off, I highly would recommend this set before splashing out $157 on Holbeins, because for me that seems just a little crazy. But I like them. I hope you found this review helpful. Please give me a thumbs up if you did. And until next time, happy crafting!